There we go. So, welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 of. We're going to have to give this room a name. We've got the Taverners. I didn't know whether to call it the Lounge. It's a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more
lounge.
Yes. You know what I mean? So, welcome to my cohorts, my co-hosts. Laz from Lazi-low collectibles. Laz, how are you, mate?
Good evening. Good evening. Great. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Martin from Martin Dares and Dinky Restorations. Good evening, Martin.
Evening all.
And Luke from Diecast Outlaw. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you all keep doing well.
Now, we're open to do a cross-Atlantic interview this evening with Ron from SoMo Diecast. But timing may be a little bit off and clicking on links and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll go around the houses as we do each week and see what everybody's up to. And hopefully Ron can jump on board. So, Laz, we'll start with you. Ben is your top of the screen next to me. What you been up to, buddy?
Just finished that Dinky Toys Morris Oxford, and I posted the video yesterday. I've got a Land Rover by Corgi Toys nearly finished, and a Key Fargo Dodge cattle truck by Corgi Toys nearly finished, and Matchbox Rally Mini, Racing Mini, and a few other cars under the way.
All right. I know we've only just come off the back of the DMC monthly challenge that I've missed badly, but Martin's got a vehicle up there for us, bless him. So what have you been up to, Mart?
Yeah, I've done, like I say, I've done the challenge. That was the Jaguar Mark 10. I've got next week's video on Wednesday is a Dinky Toys Bedford OB short bed tipper, which is going to be a custom colour, not the standard colour. So we've got that on the go, and of course, and after that is the monthly purchases and donations video, and then we're into June. So I'll be doing. I've got on the bench PB's retro restorations 4-year anniversary, and he's doing a Corvette. So I'll be doing a Corvette for that. Nice. That's 4th of June, so that'll come under the the first week of June for me. Yeah. Okay. We got one or two things planned out for the month at the end of this month coming. So yeah.
You'll have to for those that are watching, we may have a bit of interference. Martin's away in his holiday home, so he's running on not his usual bandwidth.
Yeah.
Laz is wherever Laz is this week. In Hungary this week, Laz?
No, I'm in Romania.
In Romania this week, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And well, Chester, renowned for being bad in it, Chester.
Cheers, PJ. I remember that.
I love Chester.
So thanks, chaps. Good to see you guys. We're trying to do this every fortnight now. Unfortunately, I was away last week, and we've been trying to set up this date with Ron that we're really looking forward to. I think he may be battling with tech. Oh, hello. I'm just seeing somebody's. There he is. There's the man himself.
Hello, guys.
Evening,
hey, Ron.
How are y'all doing today?
We're
welcome.
It's good to see you, buddy. Really good to see you.
Yeah.
Long time no see.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. I've been staying very busy, and everything seems to fall where I can't be here to chat with you guys. But it's good to be here.
That's fine, mate. It's I know it's took us a while with a bit of conversation flowing backwards and forwards to set this up, so it's much appreciated that you've got the time to do this with us.
Absolutely.
So just to reintroduce everybody, if you don't know who everybody is, I think you know Laz from Lazi-low collectibles.
Yep.
You know Martin. You probably haven't seen Martin's face so often, but you know Martin from Martin Dares.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a little behind on your videos, Martin, but I got a few to catch up on.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all the videos, because if you're like me, Ron, you subscribe to quite a few people, and you know, and when they drop videos, you think, oh, I'm getting behind, and you're trying to play catch up. So yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you can invest days in just trying to catch up.
Yeah. And finally, one of our new friends, one of our new team is Luke from Diecast Outlaw, who's based over in the UK as well.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, Luke. I have caught a few of your videos. I got a few more I got to get caught up with as well. Doing some fine work though.
Thank you, Ron. Much appreciated, mate.
Right, we've been we're going to give you a bit of a grilling. Nothing too harsh, but the questions. Sometimes we struggle to think of what to ask people. When it's come round to you, there's an overflow of questions to ask. So we'll start with our 10 regular questions, and then the boys have got some additional things they'd want to bring up with you and get your opinion on stuff and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So here we go. Your starter for 10. Mr. Raby, is what inspired you to become a diecast restorer, and how did you develop your skills in this area?
Inspiration. I always built model cars when I was a young man and collected Hot Wheels. One of the things I have most of the first Hot Wheels I ever bought back in 1968. And somehow I've managed to hang on to most of those through the years. My kids, me, my kids and grandkids all played with them. When COVID hit, I had to work from home because I lived in a town called Springfield, Missouri, which was about 50 miles from my office. And because Springfield locked down, we had to follow the rules of the local community, and I had to be locked down as well. So I found myself working at home, and one day I was looking around on the internet and I saw Marty's site, Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. And so I clicked on that and I watched one of those, and before you know it, there was Time Rider and Diecast Graveyard and Fat Man Productions, you know, and it just, all those guys kind of lined up, and I kept listening to Paul say, you can do this. And I thought, yeah, I probably could. So that's really what kind of got me started in it. Plus I had several hundred or more than that Hot Wheels cars around. And, but skill set, I've been a industrial designer, technical writer, technical illustrator, and inventor through that. Got a couple of patents to my name on different things. Skill set came from utilizing all those skills I've developed. That's how I make my decals. Skills I learned in using Adobe Illustrator. Having to build displays for trade shows. I just downsized that.
Yeah. Which you can do with the Adobe suite. You can basically take any image and manipulate it to the size. Yeah.
And then I already did 3D printing at work. We had 3D printers there, and so we had a program called SolidWorks, and so I had access to that. So I started designing things and printing them, and my wife graced me with a new 3D printer, and so I was like, hey, I can have all kinds of fun here. So
I like that he's wearing a Hot Wheels motif shirt. Or is that a badge you've had made?
Hey, I got another one over there. I got one actually says SoMo Diecast too, but yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
Question 2. Can you share some of the most challenging restoration projects you've worked on, and how you overcame the difficulty?
Oh, I think one of the most difficult I ever did was I had picked up a couple of cars at a toy show, and when I picked up this, I think it was a twin mill. No, it was a split and image, and when I picked it up, it looked like it had spent months, if not years, at the bottom of the ocean. It was so encrusted with corrosion. And so I just thought, okay, this is either going to work or it's not going to work. And so I went ahead and shot the video because, till I publish it, no one knows when I screw up.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I got done with it, between the filing, the sanding, the grinding, the polishing, I was surprised because it came out and I thought, well, shoot, that looks good. But it was just sheer determination. I thought, you know what, I'm going to find a way to make this thing work. And now, I got another one from that same purchase, and it's this little car right here, and you can see how encrusted it is. And that one is, it's on the list to be done, but really, for the most part, if it's condition wise, it's sheer determination and a large amount of luck. I've had a few that I didn't have a lot of luck with. I thought I can fix this, and the next thing you know, I had a body in 4 pieces, and I thought, well, okay, we're not going to do that one then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to intersperse this with the guys have got some questions as well, rather than just rattling away like. So, Laz, I believe you had a question about.
Yes, I see a lot of channels on YouTube, American and Canadian channels, and most of them, they almost 99% customize or restore Hot Wheels. Is there a cultural thing about Hot Wheels in North America, or is it difficult to get like older Matchbox or Dinkies or European models, or is just you love Hot Wheels?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with culture. I grew up. I was a teenager, and I was 10 years old when Hot Wheels were introduced in 1968, and so I bought this is the 29 Woody that I've held on all these years, and it's going to get restored. And growing up, my dad was a car guy. My brothers were car guys. I was a car guy. So when I build a car, it's generally going to be a Chevrolet of some kind because my dad was a Chevy guy. And when I bought my first Ford, you would have thought that I had just called him everything but a good father. But a lot of it has to do with culture. A lot of it has also to do with availability. When I watch Paul Restorer's channel, he has some fantastic cars that I have never heard of in my life. I have probably 5 Sekus that I've ever owned. I just recently picked up this little James Bond car, and I got this one's it's the, I don't know why it always escapes me. It's one of my favorite. But it's the one, it's got the ejection seat in it. And everything.
DB5.
Yeah.
Is that a Husky or a Corgi Juniors?
This is a Corgi Junior, absolutely.
Yeah. Whiz wheels. Yeah.
And I managed, I don't know who bought that originally, but it wound up here in the United States, and he was selling it or had sold it from somebody. But availability, I just picked up this little jewel, and of course, guess what? Hey, the door's missing. But
I've just done that.
I was able to source a door for it. But it's a lot to do with availability and also familiarity. When I was working over in England about 26 years ago, I was struck by how many or how few American cars. I wasn't prepared for everything but American cars on the road. And so when we're driving down the M5 and a full-size Ford pickup drives by me, it scared the crap out of me because I'm in a little Russian Lada.
Really?
Yeah, I just
on the M5.
I was driving along, I just kind of try to keep it on the road and keep it on the wrong side of the road. And we're driving along, and next thing you know, this big, to me, it was like, holy crap, that's a tank. And I go, no, it's just a 3/4 ton Dodge pickup. But it's, what you guys do, or down in Australia, I see a Holden, I see a Chevrolet that they downsized a little bit,
Yeah.
But still beautiful cars. I mean, I love a lot of the cars. Talking with KC all the time. He goes to the car shows and sends those back, and I start looking for models I can buy that look like some of those that they've got from Australia or I especially love all your posts where you show all the like the Austins and Minis and things, you know, all the little cars you got that you have in the UK that we don't really see that many over here.
Well, what we tried to do was initially when we started, because you've been with us, and I'm grateful that you are still with us. I've been a contributor since we were the Beef Eaters and taking part in the challenges, and we kind of moved on for reasons. But the idea was that not everybody's got a YouTube channel, but they do like to take part in the hobby. So why not just send us some before and after pictures of projects you've been working on, even if you haven't got a YouTube channel. You can share it with everybody. And I'm happy to say that the DMC Facebook group is we get 2 or 3 people usually each week, and it's gently building up. You know, it's it's not got. I think if it's too big, it gets out of hand, and you lose touch with a lot of the people that help you start and build the channels. So I always say thank you, because the fact that you've always take part when you can, and I must agree, it must be difficult with the availability to do some of these challenges that we do, because they're usually UK based challenges.
Right. Yeah, I just matter of fact, I'm just wrapping up another corgi. It's called the Futura. Yeah, and that's going to be for the next month's challenge. I found this thing. It was in a bin at a flea market, and I picked it up. And I go, well, "That's interesting. I've never seen this before." And I flip it over, and I go, "Oh, it's a corgi." So anytime I can pick up a corgi or a dinky or something like that, I will always pick it up. And even some of the more oddballs. I think what is this? This is this little Packard right here.
That's Matchbox.
Yeah,
and that's an old one. It's a number 14.
Matchbox. Yeah.
And this little pickup, Morris pickup, I am trying desperately to find one wheel, but I know I've got some that size. But it's funny. These wheels are smaller.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But and then I recently picked up this one, little super fast tow job they call it.
Yeah, got that. Yeah.
And it's complete. I mean, it really, other than it's a little dirty, I'm that's why I haven't broken into it yet. It's just like,
you know why it's nice and clear, that one, because that wasn't too famous.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what it was when I picked. I knew it was Matchbox, but I'd never seen that particular model before.
I mean, in defense of Hot Wheels, if you want to race a diecast car, you get an Hot Wheels. If you want to put it on a shelf and look at it, you get a Matchbox, a Dinky, or a Corgi. It's that kind of scenario, really.
Or if you want an American muscle car, mostly found in Hot Wheels. Yeah.
Or the Mercedes truck and trailer that I restored few months ago, and that I've had since I was a kid. And the reason I bought it was like you said, I raced my Hot Wheels, but I also built little towns out of my dad used to bring me home bottle caps, and I would lay those out and make roads and houses out of it. And so I needed trucks and and things like that. And so that's the way I taught my kids to play with them too. Just use these bottle caps, put them out on the floor, and build what you want.
Yeah, and they've still got the remnants of the smell of the beer to them as well. That's always good as well.
They always had the cork inside the bottle cap.
Yeah,
you can sit there and sniff that and get drunk just sniffing the remains of the alcohol.
It's 7 years old. That's the closest she was ever going to get. Sniffing the cork. Yeah.
Absolutely right, man.
Thanks for that, lads. So, what types of diecast models do you specialise in restoring? And do you have a favourite era or brand that you enjoy working with, if that all makes sense?
As far as restoration, I like doing the red lines, which are getting so expensive. They're really difficult. I'm kind of where I've got about all I'm going to buy. I'm not going to spend $60 on a beat up, broken Hot Wheels car. And I've got enough to keep me busy for a year or so if I do one once a month. So I'm good. I do like probably the 50s and 60s era Matchbox, just because I like the detail and the appearance of the cars and the variations they do. When I first did the little Challenger, Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
That was great. This is an original I haven't done anything with. Then I found out that they made this version, which is also an original that I haven't done anything with. Right. But I also picked up some that were a little rough. And so I've done a few variations. I did a blue one. I did the yellow one that was just totally trashed. And there's another, I think it's blue with an orange. Oh, I did the Dixie or the generally knockoff. Had the flag and everything, but they painted it orange, like Rebel Rouser or something like that. But I would have to say, I guess because it's when I was a kid, my very favorite ones to do are the 50s and the 60s. This one right here, I got about probably 4 of these.
A little Dunlop trailer and motorbike, yeah?
Yeah, the Honda trailer.
And I picked up this one, so I got something to haul it with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like doing the sets.
You can do a mix and match with some of them kind of things, which is great, you know.
Yeah, it works behind so many cars. I mean, it's the little white Mustang that has the steerable front wheels. It has a tow hook. I can build it however I want. But that's primarily what it is. I think it's the era that I really enjoy the most. Whoops, sorry. And this one I am sourcing the bell and the ladder because that ladder's trashed. That's a Dinky.
That's nice.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Every time you say something, I think that's another question I need to ask. That's another question I need to ask. we may have to ask you back for a round 2, Ron. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, I'll try to keep my answers shorter.
No, because that's the whole idea is that the reason that we're doing a lot of these, getting people on board, is to share ideas and show different models. I mean, I followed one of the first guys like yourself, like you followed Marty. I followed Martin, and the stuff that Martin was showing from the Dinky side of things, I didn't know Dinky had done, even as a kid.
Yeah.
Because I was always looking from the 70s forward, not the 70s backwards. And Martin was coming out with some of these incredible models that I'd never seen before. And I thought,
or was it Corgi Bob?
Yeah.
And I watched every video he had. Matter of fact, he had one on a Batmobile, and I had a Batmobile at the time, so I was looking and watching him do that.
Yeah.
It's scary until you see somebody do it once. But I got one more Dinky. I picked this up not very long ago, and it's a little SO Trojan van.
Trojan van,
yeah.
Well,
the other thing is finding replacement wheels. It's tough to find replacement wheels.
Yeah,
is it on wheels or tires? Can you get tires?
Yeah, tires. Yeah. Anyway,
the problem is, I think it's quite sad that we couldn't set up some kind of transatlantic, post box. The reason being, we can get them off eBay fairly cheap. The 15mm tires, Mark, stuff like that. We can get them fairly cheap, can't we? But to send them over to the States, it's like take another mortgage out. It's ridiculous, the postage costs.
I just a small box. I sent a small box to Eve Shotty's Diecast. He sent one to me, and I sent him back some stuff back as appreciation. And frankly, I could have nearly flown there and handed it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I find is a problem, because there's a lot of you guys over there who I would love to send a parcel to, because I've got quite a few ones that you've never seen or you would like to do. But like you say, it's so expensive. It'd be nice to send a parcel to somebody, and that somebody distribute it to everybody else. You know what I mean? Send one large parcel to one person, and then spread that out to across to the other diecast restorers in the community. You know, it's.
Oh yeah, it'd be, if we could ever figure out a network like that, it would be an incredible bonus to so many people that do this. My teammate Matchbox Mark, he and I share the same taste in Matchbox cars. He doesn't share my taste in Hot Wheels. He said he had 100 or so Hot Wheels, and I'm like, I probably have that many Matchbox. But Hot Wheels got a lot more than that.
I think there's quite a few of us that kind of started off in the same period of time. And I think Mark set off about the same time as the likes of me, Laz, Lee from Diecast Fixer Uppers, people like that. They all started off at the same time. And I remember Mark was one of the first guys in the States that I came across. I think he may still be in the DMC membership list. But we'd like to, if I could take a pause and ask you, Ron, if any of your guys would also like to come on and do this kind of interview with us, like, and take part, by all means, ask them. We're looking for volunteers. Is a polite way of putting it. Not is probably a better way of putting it.
Well, twisting my arm worked well, but
right. So one more from me, then we'll pass on to Mr. Dare, because Mr. Dare's got a question for you. So, how do you approach the restoration process from initial assessment to? This is going to get technical. It sounds a lot more technical than it needs to be. Just so you know, Ron, we asked an AI to come up with these 10 questions, right?
Okay.
And it was a bit of a test to see what AI would come back with. And I was gobsmacked that it knew so much about diecast restoration. So there we go. How do you approach the restoration process from initial assessment to the final touches, ensuring both accuracy and quality?
Well, when I get, first thing, basically I have to have a model that catches my eye, something that says that's interesting. And because there are some of them that are not overly interesting to see. This for instance, it's just an old, I think it's a budgie or something. But anyway, the only reason I picked it up because it's cool and it's old, and I can make white wheels, but it isn't completely busted up. It isn't heavily corroded. That one won't be that bad. When I get into more technical parts of it, like making the replacement decals for this, I try to get a good, clear picture that I can then apply my drawing skills in that realm. I never go for 100% accuracy, and because if it ever came to selling it, I'm never going to try to pass it off as the original car.
Yeah,
and I get a lot of grief from people on that. When I did my General Lee. One comment was, the O is wrong. And I replied with, I know. Yes, I did not make a squared off O. And I said, it works for me. It looks great on with my display.
Yeah.
If I wanted 100%, I'm never going to get it 100%. It's just like when people say, this is a perfect condition car. No, even out of the blister or out of the box, they're not perfect. They're not 100% because they're a little roughed up just from hanging on pegs and being handled.
Just write down. I've got another question to ask Ron about.
But I always have to look at the condition. If it's broke a little, like a A-pillar or something, maybe I just did a variation on the vet van. There was a black one that I did a couple of years ago, and I found another one. and both of the pillars were cracked, and the top was a little wonky. I wanted to do the red version, so I straightened it out, and I just finished that up. It'll be out. It'll probably be about a month with my current schedule, but it's something that I knew I could fix, and it was worth doing to me.
Yeah.
But,
I'm going to pause and pass over to Laz just to catch up on the comments and who's in the chat, and just to say hello.
We got 3 watchers, and we gained 1 more subscriber since we started the live.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Pimp My Diecast, JMO is on. Mick mainly. Jessica. So we got Canada and UK. And it's just they're talking about
Mick's online, I think, as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Mick. Yes, that was the question about the main difference I noticed between the UK and US is the UK mainly restoration with some customizers, and the US is customizers with some restorations.
There are some guys that will not do any restorations. They have no interest in it at all. I think it's a tremendous challenge and very fulfilling to bring a car back that somebody loves so much and make it look like it's brand new again.
I don't want to sound offhanded, but there's like 1,000,001 channels that are now just swapping wheels over.
Yeah,
and I don't mean to be, as I said, I don't mean to be offhanded, but where's the challenge in that?
Honestly, with the size of the post now, it's not really that much of a challenge.
Yeah.
And okay, it looks great with the different wheels on it, but yeah. Oh, that was it. That was just the wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great, but I think there's a lot more to it, and it's a lot more fulfilling. I mean, I could spend days in here drilling out every Hot Wheels car I got in here and changing them to wheels, but different wheels. But I'd really rather do something more.
I think when you get the frustration, if you blow a post out while you're drilling it, it all adds to the experience of, oh, I know that I can't do that next time. I've got to do this or do that, and we're still learning. All the 4 of us, we're learning off the likes of Martin, and we're still learning. When we have our, it's a little bit more robust on a Friday night when we have our tavern, as you well know. But it's a good way to share new ideas, anything that's come up, a new product, which I'll come back to slightly later because I've been watching one of your videos recently.
Okay.
And that made me go out and spend some money. So I'll show you what I got. Martin, over to you, sir.
I was gonna say, Ron, regarding your 3D printing, is there any likelihood that you'd try and create your own body shell, your own car from on the Hot Wheels scale on your 3D printer?
You mean, can I print one that size?
Yeah. Well, would you think would it something that you would like to try and have a go at?
Oh, actually, yeah. I was looking the other day at a body. I think it was mentioned. I don't remember who mentioned it now, but there are a couple of sites I go to. One of them is called Cult 3D, CULT S3D. They've got a lot of nice ones, nice pieces out there. Lee over at Time Rider, he's a huge fan of Thingiverse, and I think he actually has some part. Matter of fact, he's got a part out there right now for the tilt cab BP tanker that I need to get. So I got to go out and snag that and print it so I can restore my. I think it's either the six wheel.
I'm going to kind of, because Martin's brought up the old 3D scenario. Where do you think we stand with the copyright issues of printing 3D spares?
If they, well, this goes back to my point of not making all the parts exact or the decals exact.
Yeah.
I can't really, if it's similar, this goes back to my experience with patents. when you have a patent, if it's based on something somebody else did, there have to be, I think it's 7 significant differences
Changes,
between
yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
And so if I'm close and I'm not selling it, that's the problem. That's where it comes down to. If I am not selling this to the general public, then they don't have a claim to come after me. Now, if I were to go in and let's say redo this, sell it as a, Hot Wheels 29 Woody, then Hot Wheels would have a leg to stand on to come after me. But I think making spares, there's such a small amount of money involved in, like reproducing these hooks for the back of the toe job here.
You've actually just picked on the specific part I was thinking about. A friend of mine, he was learning 3D printing, and he did the hook, and he did it in 2 halves because you have to have a nodule. You have to have a nodule on each side to slot into the beam, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, what about selling these on eBay? Whether it be 50 pence or something like that. I don't know what that is in the States like. But then I thought, Mattel are going to be knocking on my door within 2 or 3 days. Where's our money?
Well, yeah, I don't know about all the legality of it, but I know there are a lot of guys out there that do the knockoffs. There's I think there's one that's there's a couple of guys I buy from, and they do knockoffs of the windshields and decals and various other things. I think it's Redline. I think it's a Second Chance Redlines. They've kind of almost stopped making reproductions. And so I keep trying to find pieces that I could, because I recently bought a lot of things to do resin casting with, the silicone to make the molds. And I haven't started doing that yet, but I've thought there's a few pieces out there I would like to just reproduce. And that way I have a mold. And if I want to do more than one, I can do more than one.
So that sounds to me like have you upscaled the last time we touched base in a conversation, you had a Creality 3D Ender Pro.
Yeah, what I have now is the Anycubic. I think it's the Photon Mono 4K resin printer.
So you've moved from PLA to resin for
yeah, and it is twice as fast as my original. So I can do a whole build platform full of wheels, and it'll do it in 45 minutes instead of an hour and a half. The longest print I had was I'm going to do a build doing my T2 camper and do that whole thing, so it goes on there. But to do the whole thing, and I split it in half so it prints better. And with the little bumper on the back and the little accessory pieces, it's a 4.5 hour build or print.
Wow!
It would have been an 8-hour print otherwise. So, but I actually sell some of those as well. I package them and put them in a local flea market booth that a lot of guys like to buy my extra Hot Wheels that I don't have any use for. And so someone said, you ought to try selling those. So I put 2 of them out and came back 2 days later, they were gone. So I put 2 more out. And so about every 2 days I'm selling 2 of them. But,
have you, Luke, have you ever thought about the 3D printing route? I know you're into painting and spraying more than anything else.
It's the wheels I'm more interested in, Ron. I've seen you print some of the wheels yourself. Now, do you design the pattern yourself, or is it a file that you download for them? Like I've seen you do some really nice, like when you're doing your custom jobs, the wheels you're using, they're really nice. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, all of mine are designs that I came up with. I wanted Hot Wheels. They have good wheels. Real riders are great, but they don't run good on the track. Really, that rubber actually slows them down.
Yeah.
But just for appearance, I thought, going back again to my youth, a pair of Krager SS or Keystone wheels, which are 5-spoke, mag wheels, or the little later when Centerline came out with the little holes around them.
Yeah.
I just would sit there and play and figure out how to design all those wheels. I think I have somewhere around 30 or more wheel designs.
Oh yeah. Can they be scaled up, Ron, to like the 143 scale? Can that be done on the system you're using? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I picked up I think it was a 1/32 scale Mustang that had that I picked it up for like 50 cents or $1.
Yeah.
And so I thought it had rims on it, but you couldn't really get tires for it. So I brought it back and I scaled up the little die-cast 5-spoke kind of star wheel.
Yeah.
Scaled those up, and with the scale I came up with, they fit. I was able to get them up to the right little trial and error to get them where they needed to be. And they look great. They came out looking like they belonged. You can also make them wider. You can make them narrower,
So what are you, Ron? What are you using? I know there's some free software out there for creating STL files. I don't want to get too technical, but it's like a free version of CAD, which is a basic program that's easy to use. It's basically shapes, So what are you using? Are you using AutoCAD or EasyCAD or?
Actually, the version of CAD that I have is several years old. I've been playing around since I retired. I don't have access to SolidWorks anymore, which is an incredibly technical program. But talking with Lee over at Time Raider, he uses Tinkercad.
Tinkercad, thank you, sir. I couldn't think what it was called. Tinkercad, yeah.
So Tinkercad is one I'm playing with to see if I can import like the basic. I have basic rim designed for a wheel. 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter, and even some bigger ones and some smaller ones. And if I can bring those in, then it's simple enough to go in and customize the center shapes and all that. If not, all I got to do is measure it and I can figure out what they need to be. I know the outside of the wheel is 10 millimeter and 12 millimeter.
Yeah.
And there are some, I think there's some, if I can print one and I can't make it, let's say, flexible, like for the missing wheel on this one, I can print one and then you can make a silicone mold and cast it out of a softer rubber or vinyl. And I have a replacement tire for my Matchbox as well. And that can be scaled up or down.
It seems to me like since we last touched base, your skills have developed even further from when we talked.
Well, I don't just do wheels, but you probably, if you watch any of my videos, you've probably seen some of the bases, custom bases that I come up with. Those are some of the more challenging ones. It's like, okay, I want to take this car and I want it to look like this. How do I make that happen? And so, we're talking hours. It would take less time if I were to whittle the piece out of metal or something and sit and grind it away. But it's a challenge and it's reproducible, and that's what I like about it.
I've gone completely off script here because there were so many different questions that are buzzing about. Like Luke, Laz, Martin, anything else you want to ask before?
No, I'm fine. I think we're
mate. I don't want to plug it all. So.
Just like to ask, Ron, what paint are you using? Because I know you use a lot of the candies and the pigments. What actually paint is it?
Right. Well, actually, what I currently exclusively paint with rattle cans. So I use like Krylon or Rust-Oleum. One of my favorites is it's called Color Shot, and it's incredibly easy to work with. But going back in my time, I recently picked up these because what I have are the old versions that I used to use back in the 80s. And so I got to redevelop my skills on, but you know what? I get a lot of grief from people about two things. I get the most grief about. That's an amazing paint job considering it's a rattle can. Okay. I shot it out of a rattle can. Or how do you do that with a rattle can? Well, like anything else, it takes practice and sometimes multiple paint it, strip it, paint it, strip. You know the dance. Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, we strip it, we start over. The other one is a couple of guys. There's one guy in particular that calls my wheels tractor wheels. Why do you use those tractor wheels? Wow. And I'm like, I like them and I design them and I own them. Simple as that. If you don't like my wheels, go ahead and spend $14 on Real Riders. It's up to you. I'm not dictating how you spend your money or how you build your cars.
Yeah.
If you like what I do, great. If you don't, just say thanks, great video or crappy video, and move along.
You find that sometimes, Ron, that some of the people watch your videos or anybody's videos. Really, it's a fine balance between how you deal with people and without. You've got to be very diplomatic when you deal with some of the subscribers and some of the comments. And in the early days, I got a few quite unacceptable, what I say, comments. But I think it's the way I suppose they were calling keyboard warriors or whatever they called them, or what was trolls or whatever it was, you know. And it's quite amazing what they come up with. And you think, well, okay. At the end of the day, these were what we do were toys. They were designed as toys. They were sold as toys. And I have the biggest questions. I know that you do as well, Ron, but especially if you're restoring a vehicle, it's colour. People say, well, it's not the right shade of colour. Or, you know, it's not. And you say, well, at the end of the day, it was proved. I think Michael from down in Australia proved it. He got the six Mercedes Benz by Gorgie, all in the same colour, and each and every one was a different shade.
Oh yeah,
and, at the end of the day, I think
it's the mood of the guy mixing paint that day at the factory. You know, he's like, that's close enough. Just paint it that. You'll find variations like that, especially in the older Matchbox. It's a light blue. It's one of 6 different light blues that I've seen so far.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people get hung up on colour shade when they're restoring, whether or not it's right or wrong, because over time the colour will fade anyway. It might be mint in a box, but over a period of 50, 60, 70 years, what we'll talk about here with the Dinkies and Matchbox, that colour is going to fade, no matter what it does. So you're never gonna know that exact accurate colour that they actually put on it. And like you say,
if you put that in a spectrum analysis, you know what I mean. Mass spectrometer. It'll tell you exactly how to make that color. How many of us have a mass spectrometer? I don't.
Well, I've got a couple of things I'll just bring up on that particular point. Is I think the Enterprise, the original Enterprise, is currently stored in on display in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
And depending on what time of day you take a photograph of that model can affect the color. So it can be as the day gets darker, the greys, the varying greys, will get darker or lighter. And if you go, there's a fan site. Of course, there always is. Why isn't there? There's an Enterprise fan site, and if you go on there and say what colour is the Enterprise, it's like starting off World War III.
Oh, yeah.
Lord above,
Yeah, I before I retired, one of the projects I was working on, they were trying to color match a new product to an existing product so we could stay consistent. And when they initially tried that, it didn't come out right. And so he pulls up the color book and the part, and he puts them next to each other. And I said, David, excuse me, we're standing under a bunch of fluorescent lights. Did you take it outside by chance? And he goes, well, no. I said, well, fluorescent lights, incandescent lights, LED lights, and the sun will all show that color in a different light because it's a refractivity of the color in the light. It's called wavelengths. And he was furious with me for pointing that out.
A friend of ours, Mike Williams, to the guys that know Mike, we call him Chicken Mike. Mark will know what we mean. Recently contacted me and he said, "I'm glad you brought up the General Lee, Ron." And he said, "Could you do a set of decals for the General Lee?" And I went, and it took me down a rabbit hole of what orange was the General Lee. And I saw a quote from John. I'm not going to get his surname
John
right.
Snyder.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bo, as I know him. And he said, we had something like 250 different, General Lees. And it got to, I think, was it something like 6 seasons, Ron?
Oh, yeah. About that.
It says when it got to the end, we took any paint we could find that would make orange into a pot, and spray this damn thing So, as the likes of Martin, who's gone back in and done some of the older versions, there's no consistency in the paint, and we're not. I think the phrase we use over here is rivet counters.
Yeah.
If it looks good to us, that's what it's all about.
Exactly the way I do it.
The best and most original.
That's exactly the way I do it. I got a question for Lou. Lou?
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead.
Do you have a 3D printer?
Who's that for, Ron? For me or Laz?
Look.
Whoever has a full. You were talking about, you were interested in some of my wheels.
Yeah, I haven't at the minute, Ron, but I am literally that far from getting one. And I'll be interested to see whether you could send me some files or come on.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. If you go to my channel, YouTube channel, my email is out there in the About section. Send me an email. I'll send you some files that you can 3D print and some suggestions on angles and heights so that you get the best quality of print. I find if I try to put them completely flat, they won't build correctly. I have to turn them at least 2 or 3 degrees off of flat, and then I get good build supports and a minimal number of places to grind away.
Is this based on your current? Is this based on your current resin printer setup, Ron?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Now, if you're doing it, not the resin, filament printers, absolutely flat is the best way to go because you get the best definition. Where you got, you start with the back side of the wheel and end up where you got the top of it where it's actually displaying the rim itself. The only problem I had with filament printers was that hole in the middle for the axle is 23 thousandths, 0.023. And generally had to drill those out slightly.
I was going to say, could you make it with a solid center, for want of a better explanation, then drill it out to fit the axle?
Yeah, well, if you use like my STL file for that, it'll leave a little bit of an indent so that the drill bit will have the right place to go.
Oh, brilliant.
But for the resin, they tend to fill with the resolution you can get on the resin printers. It'll print it no trouble, and occasionally I have one I have to remount just a little bit.
You can see why I was looking forward to this one.
That's one of the reasons what I find strange that maybe there's only one or two companies, and they're usually either, I think one of them in Italy and whatever, what actually produce the size of wheel for the Corgi and the Dinky. There's stacks for the 164, but you try getting printed wheels for the Dinkies and the Corgi sizes, and I personally, I know, rely on going to the cheap shops and buying pullback toys to get a wheel and a tyre, which is different to. But on the 164 scale, there's tons, and I just can't seem to get my head around that. Why nobody's bothered to produce the larger wheels?
My only thought on that is because I've encountered the same thing. People they're looking at volume. Millions of Hot Wheels and Matchbox made every day, and but not a lot of the 132nds, 140, the larger scale, or the actual Dinky or Matchbox wheel that takes a tire. Anyway,
it's just an odd thing that really, I mean, I've seen 118s. You can buy wheels for 118s and 124s, but not for the ones we do. But never mind. It's just one of those things. I know that somebody will pick up on it one day and do a few.
I've had pinched the wheels off, and now what else I can do? I won't very wanted them for the wheels.
I often go around the shops.
We need to introduce you to a guy called Jeremiah Mont. I'm going to butcher his surname if I'm not careful, so I'll just say Jerry for now. Who's based in Queens.
Not anymore, I think.
Say again, sorry, Laz?
Not anymore, I think.
No, he was based in Queens. He's now moved to Texas. And he's an ex-prison warden.
Oh.
And what he does is, what's the scale he uses, Mort? Is it 125th scale?
124 mostly.
124.
124. And what he does, he'll purchase a 124th scale model, usually, obviously, American car, and he'll convert it to a state police car based on different states.
Okay.
So it is. When we say there's a lot of the American channels that are doing Hot Wheels vehicles and wheel swaps and stuff like that, there are unique channels where they're doing something a little bit different to everybody else. Jerry hasn't got a channel, but he's. I'd like to put you in touch with him at some point. He's right up your street.
Okay.
So there's that. Right. Anybody else had a question before I go and delve into our pot of go on, Laz?
I just wanted to say that about the light. When I've done a video here, and it was cloudy outside, in a minute clip, I had different shade of grays on the car because the sun was disappearing, coming back, disappearing, and in the same shot, without moving, the gray was different.
Yeah.
So, it was really interesting to see on the dumb video that the gray is actually changing because of the clouds.
I mean, it's interesting. If you go outside and look at your lawn, your grass, and you watch the sun pass over your grass, the multiple shades of green you will get from the sun passing over your lawn. It's something as simple as that. I've watched too much Alan Titchmarsh, which means nothing to you, Ron, but famous gardener in the UK, some TV gardener like
radio personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic FM.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I never was a landscape painter, or actually, I see a lot of the paintings that you do, PJ, and I can draw a little. I can design in CAD and various things, but I can't paint. It's always been something that eluded me. But watching somebody that can take a picture and make a painting of a warbird flying through the sky, and it's impressive. I just love to see your work.
yeah, I mean, I will say that Paul from Pimp My Diecast is in the chat. He does some amazing forces paintings. Yeah. But me and Ron have swapped Batman drawings because that's how sad we are. You know what I mean? I used I had a 12-inch iPad, Ron, with the pen, and I at the time invested in a program called Procreate for the iPad. I'm not saying everybody should go out and buy a 12-inch iPad, but if you've got the option to do so, I would highly recommend it.
Oh yeah,
and it feels so much different. You know, if you're using your finger to kind of paint with, it doesn't work. But when you've got the iPad pen on the iPad and you can make sweeping, this is how I did the Capri decals, Luke. I use an iPad with Procreate because you could delve into the color right down to one square pixel, and it was so that glowworm was so difficult because of the amount of colors that are involved in it. It became a blur. There wasn't a color that you could pick out to match a particular pixel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know about painting. So that was difficult. So have you used anything like how do you create your decals, Ron? You said you basically use Adobe Illustrator.
Yeah,
is that your best solution?
Actually, what I do is I will get a picture of whatever decals just so I can put it up as a JPEG.
Yeah.
And then I'll take and scale pictures. Let's say for this little car right here, I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to use my micrometer to scale it to how big that picture needs to be. And then I will start drawing and putting text in here on lines, or I'll make one star and then I'll make an array of various size stars. And that's basically just putting them in there, matching them as close, not dead on, but close enough to where they look good to me. There are a lot of original decals. I think whose drunk sister got on their computer and did this. I just get, I make it. Sometimes I correct them, but I have my limitations. I don't do ghost white, and I get.
That's actually, I was going to ask you about that ghost white. Yeah.
Well, I would love to have a ghost white printer, but it's like a lot of things in life. At $4,000 American, that's got to make a lot of decals to pay for a $4,000 printer.
I mean, we've had these discussions in the past. Is the investment in a particular tool or technique worth it if you can go and buy those decals off eBay already done? No. But ghost white, I'm a little bit like that with a ghost white. I'm not sure whether I should or I shouldn't.
Yeah, but doing my own, I can color match the color that is a halo around the decal if they're white.
Yeah.
And or the background also if I do them on clear, so they will blend into the paint. So I can spend a few minutes and print one, look at it, print another one, look at it, and add or subtract until I get the color exactly the way I wanted. then I can print it, and it looks good enough for me. That's what I tell everybody.
This brings me back to the General Lee. Forget the questions off the script, because this is far more interesting. This brings me back to the General Lee logo. If you were to, because I believe you use a laser printer to print your decal.
No, I use an inkjet.
Really?
But you have to make sure that you print them as the highest definition you can print. Yep. And I find also printing them as pictures, you get the greatest resolution. That
so
took
you're
me
talking about DPI, that kind of thing?
Yes. I think the highest I can get is 600. I don't think
same here. Yeah, same here.
I would love to print 1200, but I don't think it will let me do that. So far, the highest definition I can get is 6.
You see, I've never come across the Ghost. For those that are unfamiliar, when we're talking about the Ghost cartridge, I think there's only one I might be wrong, but there's only one company I've come across that make them and ship them all around the world, and they're expensive. The idea is they can actually print white, which a standard printer cannot do. It can omit things, but it can't print white. Ron, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, the eye color. Now I know Paul at Diecast Graveyard uses an eye color 560, I believe it is. There's also like a 900 and they can go up to $20,000. The one he uses sells for about $4,000. And basically it still has a black, a red, a magenta, and a cyan cartridge. But the white cartridge, you remove the black cartridge, put the white in, print it, and you have the white. Now, if you're using laser, the newer laser ones, I think they actually do almost a sublimation, and you don't have to swap the cartridges out. It's just added in there. So you used to have a problem with registration because you print it through once, well, then you feed it again, and it's probably going to be off. I think the way they print now, it just does all 5 of them at once.
You see, the problem I had was I'm not looking for a solution, by the way. But the problem I had was our friend Mike, that we all know, was asking for a set of General Lee decals and would have to be prepared to do them. Now, obviously, the Confederate flag and things like that are not a problem. But I found that probably the same kind of discussion about the 01 that you did. So I basically grabbed a screenshot, but to get the white outline around the black on a clear inkjet is virtually impossible. You can't do it.
No, that's the ones I print on white and do a background and then trim them close.
Have you got to take the center out of the 0 though to? Yeah,
with that, you got 2 different ways of doing that. What I do is I create another center, make it the same color, and put it right on the top.
Ears, by the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now the ones I did on my video yesterday with the little gasser, Spaceman Spiff from Calvin and Hobbes. That one, the number decals for the hood and Calvin on the back, those were white with black background. The ones that went on the side, because it's white, and I was able to do in clear, and so that simplified it a lot. But in that case, I had to print 2 sets of decals.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like you're layering decals to.
Yeah. This is one I just, for that red version, those are on white. And so I've got to really trim these closely. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm getting old. My eyes can't take that crap anymore.
I think you'll notice we're all wearing glasses here. You're not alone, my friend. You're not alone.
Oh, you are still on there.
Yeah.
next one then, PJ.
So that's an interesting one. It's simple for us, but probably more difficult for yourself. How do you source replacement parts for vintage or rare diecast models, and what challenges do you face in finding authentic components? I think we've covered it to a slight extent because you can do a certain amount of 3D printing. But if you want to go the whole hog and do that original model as close as you can get it.
I haven't ordered from them in a while. Recover Toy. I have ordered from them, but it takes a considerable amount of time to get them and a considerable amount of cost to get them shipped. Quality is great. If it's Hot Wheels and it's Red Line era, then Second Chance Red Lines, they're not that expensive. There's also a guy on Facebook that sells some really good ones for not bad. The wheels are easy. I always go with Hot Wheels. If it's Red Line, I always go to Bright Vision because he makes the best wheels in the business. And I can buy a dozen wheels off of him for, $6. I can't make them for that. But the biggest challenge is some of the rarer cars, like this little Morris pickup. No one really makes that little wheel, and it's a Dinky, and it's tiny, so it's well named. It's a Dinky little Morris mini truck. And
you got one.
That's a double-o.
Yeah, it's a double-o, a Dinky double-o. It was built to go with their Triang train sets, double-o gauge train sets. They made about, the range wasn't that fantastic on them, but they're tiny. I have quite a few, and they are tiny. Yeah.
But the size of your thumbnail.
They're almost on par with the Lone Star Tough Tops. They're small.
That one caught my eye at a train show, and I bought that and the little tractor here to go with it.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
And you can actually still buy the original 1-to-1 version of that Morris pickup in this country if you can find them. But we're talking lottery money if you find one in good condition. Yeah.
JMO just said that for that little pickup, Oxford diecast 1/76 scale wheels will fit. I don't know if you're familiar with Oxford diecast.
I will check it out.
It's another British brand, Oxford diecast. I think they do more like train set sizes.
Right.
But they're nice. 1/76 Oxford diecast it is.
Okay. I saw Laz that Jester Guru mentioned that Timo from Canada prints on clear, then layers on top of white decal.
Yeah, he puts how he does the reg plate is he puts a white decal, and then he puts the clear one on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah, Timo. Yeah.
When you're doing the decals like that, you'll start whatever your decal. If it's going to be clear, and you're going on a white background, like white paint, like I did with a lot of mine. You start with that, and then you start layering them by having the program arrange where it is, all the way at the back, all the way at the front, or somewhere in between, and you'll step it back or up until you get it where it pulls it in or out.
You're creating layers,
Yeah. And you tell it to put it on layer 2, and layer 2's the second one from the bottom, and that way you don't have to do a lot of adjusting.
Yeah, you built. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Yeah, absolutely. So let's rattle through these last few questions before we lose where we're at with this script. Can you share any memorable stories or experiences from your time as a diecast restorer, perhaps involving a particularly unique or sentimental project?
Actually, yeah, so many of them are very sentimental. I think one of them that touched me first, my very first red line I restored is a yellow Dodge Diora that I bought. It was the very first Hot Wheels car I ever bought. I paid 69 cents for it at a place called Howard's Discount City. Like I said, I was about 10 years old. I had never heard of Hot Wheels because they had just come out. And so I picked that car up and bought it, still have it. It was the first red line I restored on my channel. And about a year later, there was a comic book came out called Hot Wheels. And it was, this version, it had a 36 chord convertible. And the premise of the story was it was gold plated. Some mobster, that's how he was stealing his gold and getting it out of the country. He was going to drive this thing off. Well, he ran it off the road and it sunk into a pit. And the Hot Wheels guys found it. And so they pulled it up and couldn't figure out why it was so heavy. And so got some feedback. Anyway. What is going on here?
You have a bit echoing.
Yeah, an echo now. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's changed anything. I'm not sure why.
I haven't done anything.
No.
Okay.
No, we
Anyway.
don't have it.
As part of when that comic book came out, Hot Wheels also released that 36 custom cord. And so I still had that. And so I wish I still had the comic book because it would have been so cool to have the comic book and the car I bought in 1970. Yeah. Those are two of my favorites.
One of the things we have in common, we're both a bit comic booky. We're a bit Marvel DC nuts. Well, I'm across both brands, but yeah, I do like my. I could talk. We could have an whole episode just talking about Batman. To be honest, Ron.
I got a stack of Batman comic books over here if you want to talk.
Right. So, question 8: in your opinion, what sets apart a well-executed diecast restoration from it says mediocre, but a crap one, really, I suppose. And what do you prioritize? In your opinion, what sets a well-executed restoration from a mediocre one, and what aspects do you prioritize to achieve excellence? That sounds like a proper interview question, doesn't it? You know, it's like, if you can answer this, you may get the job, Mr. Raby. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm getting a reverb on this thing. Anyway, I would have to say that, first of all, when I watch somebody's video, I don't judge their work. I judge their enthusiasm. Not everybody, especially if, let's say somebody that's like, I've never done this before, I'm going to try this. I don't criticize. I will, I might offer them a suggestion on how to improve if they want it. I won't force them to do it. But to me, fit, finish, and execution are the whole thing. Looking back on the very first one I did, I made a little Gasser 34. And looking back, I think, oh, man. And I actually put that out on YouTube. But, I was learning. And I don't believe you ever ought to attack anybody when they're learning and they want to know. And now, I saw one day when a guy, he just picked up the car and spray painted it all, all one color and put it out there like he was proud of it. And I never was sure if he was kidding or mocking us or what it was, but I was just like, that was a poorly executed restoration or custom. But to me, it's all about, it's like doing a full-size car. If I put a big V8 in a car that's never designed for a V8 and people look at it and go, wow, I didn't know they put a V8 in that car that year. And you know, you joke with them and go, oh yeah, it was a one-off. And they look at like, you're full of bull. Yeah, I am. But you know, if you, my goal is to make it look like it always was that way, even if it's completely different than anything that Matchbox or Hot Wheels ever produced. The 60L Camino is a good example. It was never intended to have a big engine sticking out of the hood. And rather than cut the front post off, I found a way to reinforce it and cut away most of it, still get the big engine in.
I think that may be one of the problems. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here, but I'll say it anyway. I think that may be one of my problems with the Hot Wheels cars is, could the driver actually see past the engine when it's sticking so far out the, you know, out the, but I'm going to say bonnet. It is what it is, you know. Could theoretically, could he see around it in real life? Probably not. You know,
having driven a couple of cars like that, yeah, you can see ahead of you. You can't really see much other than looking out the passenger window or your driver's side window. You can see straight in front of you. They're really designed for one thing and one thing only. That's going 1/4 of a mile as fast as you can.
Well, sorry, mate. Yeah, there was a guy, many moons ago now. It was an English guy who got a Mini, and he cut the roof right down. You know, there was a trend back then to have the lowest roof possible.
Oh yeah,
possible. And he got this low roof, and he got this big blower sticking out of the bonnet, and you know, you say trying to see round it. I mean, this guy was, when he got out of the car, the guy was about 5.5 foot, 6 foot tall. And how the hell he got in it, I never know. But it was I always remember it was like a pinky colour. It was in one of the hot car magazines that we used to get over here years ago. I think I used to spend many hours with them hot car magazines. You just dreaming and dreaming and dreaming.
Oh yeah,
you know,
me too.
You could buy all the bolt-on parts you could buy, and you know, I think the only wheels that you could get at that time were the Wolf Race wheels. They were oh yeah, if you had a set of them on, you was the bee's knees. Yeah, you was the man. You know, is that Wolf Race wheels on your car? Yeah,
sure.
And
I mean, going back in time, I was always appreciative of motorbikes. I've never owned a bike, but in the magazines there was a guy called, I'm going to say David somebody or other, who painted these Easy Rider type images. These bikes.
Yeah.
He's a well-known. Somebody will shout out in the chat if they know it as it's David somebody or other. But they're all they were fantastic paintings that this guy did. Like, and they that reminds me of going back in the past for bikes.
Well, yeah, I mean, you take airbrushing on the side. We've seen back in the late 70s. You get the airbrushing guys be a whole side of a panel van, whether it be a Bedford or a Transit or whatever. You know, in America more so. And the airbrushing, freehand airbrushing was absolutely superb. And it always fascinated me, where do you start? How do you get so many layers on it? And where the heck you don't make a mistake where you've been? And I'm going, it just blows my mind when I watch people. I think the recent program I used to watch was Counts Customs. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen that, Ron. It's a TV program, Counts Customs. And these custom painters, the guy doing the fuel tanks on these motorbikes, absolutely just fantastic. You know,
there are some, I mean, absolute artists that are in that. My favorite was the plumber that has the when you drive on the driver's side and it has the driver sitting on the loo. Here's the toilet, and his legs, and you know he's driving. And he looks like it's That's hilarious.
Marcus inadvertently gave me the chance to Google it. It was David Mann.
Okay.
Who did the Easy Rider type drawings and paintings, like, you know, back in the 60s.
Fascinating stuff.
Can I mention a question,
Brilliant
please?
design, like.
Laz? From the chat. If my diecast, which is JMO, he's asking, what's Ron's view of chassis, classic Hot Wheel tune cars, such as the 64 Impala?
Tuned? You mean the ones that have like the high roof and
tune cars? I think he means possibly the cartoon themed cars.
They are not my favorite, but they do have. I mean, I've done exactly one. Somehow I wound up with the Chevy Silverado, tuned Silverado, that I did probably a couple of months ago. I did a custom of. I used to draw cars like that. You know, the little tuned Volkswagen that they've got. I drew one of those back in the 70s, and you know, and whenever I saw Hot Wheels came out, I was like, they came out with that tuned Bug, and I was like, well, crap, they've been looking at my drawings.
They stole your idea. They stole your idea.
But you know, it's kind of a universal idea. But I would love to get a hold of one of the probably the Porsche, and I can see they're a great way. They're already kind of customized anyway, so you can just go a little nuts and, you know, whatever you want to do.
Quick straw poll, because I just noticed that Ron said Porsche. Who's a Porsche and who's a Porsche?
Porsche. It's a Porsche.
You just want to sound Porsche and sounds like Majorette. You do. That's what's going on with you.
Yes, it's a Majorette. Believe me, it's a Majorette.
So what are you, Laz? Are you a Porsche?
Porsche.
Porsche.
But I say Porsche I say Porsche in the videos, but it's a Porsche.
Mark?
I do the same thing. It's Porsche or Porsche, depending on what, you know.
It's like Bowie or Bowie, isn't it? It's that
I would say Porsche, because you know, it's like everything else, isn't it? Just say Porsche.
Luke?
Porsche.
Yeah. I think it's a Brit. I think Porsche is a Brit thing.
It's an English.
It's more
English.
of a European.
Well, we have a tendency to cut our words short anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
So
we have to teach people to talk properly. Yeah.
I mean, the Germans are laughing on when you say Mercedes. It's a Mercedes.
Yeah.
They say it's not a Mercedes.
One thing I noticed working in the UK over in the UK is you guys pronounce every syllable, and so
yeah.
We tend to skip over things we don't want to say, and so, you know, it's
we don't get no shortcuts, my friend.
Yeah, you say solder. You mean solder? No, I meant solder.
Yeah, I mean, it's like router, and, you know, router means two different things completely.
Yeah,
so
but
a router
sometimes
to me is a electrical drilling tool, like. But a router to you is your network broadband provider, and you kit, you know.
I think sometimes the British words are actually shorter than the Americans, like trash can. Bin is easier to say; it's quicker.
Yeah.
Put it to the bin. The trash can is a bit long.
Or bog. I know what all those mean. If it's bog paper, it makes more sense than toilet paper any day.
Yeah, it's not much shorter than John, though, is it? Bog. I mean, it's only a letter.
I know what a loo is.
So we did the. I don't know how we get through this question.
One more thing. JMO says, get him to say, Worcester sauce.
Worcester sauce. Oh,
sauce.
Okay. Nasty tasting brown sauce.
Oh wow! Really?
It's Worcestershire sauce.
I'm gonna give you. This is unfair. And I'm sorry to do this to you, Rob. But there's a lot of, when Americans talk about the shires, right? Mm-hmm. So if I was to say if I'm going to spell a word to you, and then if you pronounce it, DERBY.
Derby.
No, that's Derby.
Derby.
I live in
You know,
Derbyshire.
I'm only let's see, third generation American. Originally back in 1865, my family was still living in the UK, up around Liverpool, little place called Raby.
Yeah.
Thus my name. So only being 3 generations removed, I've lost all touch with the correct pronunciation.
I like the way that you say that you shorten some words though. But you will say Worcestershire, and we'll say Worcester. Yeah, it's how it's amazing how some of these things just trip off the tongue. Like it's. I love it.
Yeah, but even in our own country over here, we've got different dialects for different counties.
Yeah.
You can go 100 miles and you'll be completely different. And people will say, because where I'm living at the moment, we call it the flatlands. It's the fens. It's just totally flat. The biggest thing we've got is a speed bump, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
And when you go out into the fens, it's completely different language altogether. Completely, it's like going into that film of Deliverance. Going off into that sort of land. And when they look at you when you go
far from some of those lands, so I know.
When you open the door in a pub and they all look at you and you think, oh my God, I'm coming to the wrong place, and you shut the door and walk out, but the dialect is so different all over the place. I mean, PJ's different dialect, Luke's different dialect, it's
Me too.
and our words are different. The way PJ might say Derbyshire, or I might say Derbyshire.
I'm probably close. I'm probably closest to being able to interpret when we have a I don't want to say foreign because that sounds bad, but when we have somebody from abroad, that's a better way of putting it. Somebody from abroad online to do something like this, I'm probably the closest that's able to say, divulge what everybody else is trying to say. It gets a little bit. So if we had somebody from Newcastle or from Glasgow, Ron, you wouldn't stand a prayer, bless you. But I've got that. I know enough to be able to say this is what they're asking.
Yeah.
Whether it be north or south, because we're in the Midlands, so we've got it from both ends.
I used to be really good at interpreting Scouse, but I think I've lost that.
No. Don't go there because Luke will rip your head off. He's not happy. He lives in Chester and he doesn't like being called Scouse.
Oh, I would have. I technically would have been from there if I were still living there. So I don't. You would have to know what. There's a town not far from me called Buffalo, like the animal Buffalo, Missouri.
Buffalo Bills. Yeah.
Well, it's here in Missouri, a little north of us here, and that's where most of my family from my mom's side is from. Mm-hmm. And much like Martin's walking into a bar and wanting to turn around and walk out, walking into a family reunion on my mother's side, you kind of walk in and go, "Oh my God." By the time I leave, I have fallen right back into the hillbilly accent, and
But you've also mentioned, dare I say it, Springfield.
Yeah.
Now we know Springfield for one particular reason.
Simpsons.
The Simpsons, yeah. Are we talking about the actual Springfield that it's based on?
Well, there was a big contest about that. There were 3 Springfields involved, and we were one of the runners-up. I don't think we actually won, but I know a few homers that live around here, and more than one Bart.
Yeah.
And I know there's a few mill houses that hang out as well. So.
Yeah, we got a few of them. Yeah, we definitely got a few. Yeah.
But
we got 2 to go, my friend, before all hell lets loose, and we're battering you with questions. How do you stay updated on the on the latest trends, techniques, materials. This is actually. I'm going to ask you this because actually I keep up to date by watching some of the stuff that you do, but this is strange. How do you stay updated on the latest trends, techniques, and materials in diecast restoration? And are there any ongoing challenges in the field?
Staying up to date with them is it's almost like a job because you're constantly searching. I look at tools, or I'll go out and look and see what somebody introducing tools. Paul today had a little video about a hobby mat that he picked up at a local hobby store that's all made of silicone, which is really cool. And it was only like 10 pounds American, or $10 American. But I'm always looking at what kind of paint is out there. Are there any innovations in painting techniques, better paint methods? A lot of the things we have now are the same things I've been using with model building since I was a kid. I'm just better at using them and more familiar with how to use them. But it really, and watching other people's channels, or seeing what they're doing. They maybe post something on Instagram or something, and you're like, okay, whoa, I got to check that out. I started using my razor saw for cutting straight lines instead of my jeweler's saw because I watched Jim Silva, and he was doing that, and I thought, well, that's brilliant because it's straight and it doesn't wander. So
Martin's going to bring me up to speed on that. What can you define a razor saw as opposed to the jeweler's saw?
I've
If Martin's, I've got the jeweler's saw. I will say that.
Just I've got one here.
This is live, folks. This is where we've got two men that are rummaging. Can't remember where they've put stuff. Look at this.
Okay. This is a razor saw.
Oh, right.
It's got an X-Acto saw handle on it, which you can use or not use. And then it actually has this really fine saw blade on it that it works best at cutting plastic, but it'll also cut die cast. But you can draw a line on that. They also make a miter box that you use with this, that you can put it in there. But basically it's like not a draw, Japanese. Japanese.
I will say, Ron, I have got not exactly. I've got the same saw setup, but for wood. Yeah. And I'm wondering now whether you can buy specifically a metal blade that will do die cast for the handle that I've got. So that'd be interesting.
You are better off with a razor saw. That's the block.
So
that's the miter.
Yeah, that's the block.
There you go.
And
but you are because
that's one.
If you can get the metal one, it's even better. That's the metal one, right, Martin? Yeah. I've seen them in wood. I've seen them in metal, but these are, if you got eBay, you can probably pick one up like that, and you might check the tooth count will tell you whether or not it's whether wood. Like this thing probably has. That's got to be 60 teeth per inch. 40.
It's almost like an hacksaw blade, Ron.
Exactly, just much finer, much thinner.
Yeah, fine hacksaw blade. Yeah.
It's a good cut, PJ, for if you use a lot of those plastic rods, like green stuff, plastic world.
Yeah.
And
we were talking about
that. And I've used it I mostly use it on my scale models when I'm cutting apertures out or on stuff like this, and they are accurate. And the blade, being the size of the blade, it doesn't tend to bend. It stays rigid, which is a plus side. Whereas you haven't got that flexibility like you have with a hacksaw or the jeweler's saw.
Yeah. Just to give an example for people that are not aware.
Yeah.
That's the jeweler's saw version.
That's great for going around corners. But
yeah.
Really tough to get a straight line.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm easily brought. Ron, somebody's only got to suggest something, and I've spent thousands of pounds by the next day. And Martin Dare's usually to blame for it. But as I say that, recently you are to blame for it. But I'll ask you the last question before we move on to general question.
Okay.
Simple one, my friend. What's your favourite model that you've done?
Oh, favorite. Oof, that's a tough one. Man, there are so many. I've got like 500 of them up here on the wall I'm looking at right now.
We were talking about storage last night, weren't we?
Mhm.
Where do you store your models once you've done them? But looks like you're looking at most of yours, Ron.
Yeah, I actually ran out of shelf space a long time ago, so some of them are 2 and 3 deep. they're stacked up really. I think probably one of my favorites would be the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that I did earlier. I think in this year.
Oh, cool.
I got lucky and found one that was so complete but rough, and so I was able to. But that's always been a favorite car of mine. I don't know why, and but I would have to say that's one of my favorite. The other one would have to be I absolutely love '63 Corvettes, and I had one that had the hood top caved in on that I managed to get all straight, painted a beautiful yellow with gold wheels, and but it would be a toss up between those two. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang just for the appearance, the Corvette for the energy I put into it.
I'm going to open this up to the floor before I go ranting off and asking him 10,000 questions. Laz, anything else?
Not at the moment. I might think something.
Okay. Well, please feel free to.
I'm just going to let my dogs out.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was back on it.
Luke, I'm going to say this to you. This is more of a threat than anything else. Don't buy a resin printer until we've talked about it.
No, I won't, mate. Don't worry.
No,
I won't.
we may get a discount if we buy 2.
We'll try it. You never know.
If you can purchase when you go to a resin printer, try to get the water wash resin. You don't have to mess with alcohol for cleaning. It's just water. It's still you have to wear rubber gloves or plastic gloves anyway. But if you get the water wash, you can get it in black. You can get it in gray. It's much cleaner. It doesn't stink near as much.
Do you have a video, Ron, where you've used that? The
water wash?
Yeah.
I don't think I have actually. I've always thought about doing a video on using that. But I don't think that might be something to maybe make a note and do here's how I print this.
I don't think there's enough examples from our hobby, if you like, of the 3D printing aspect side of it. I know, I take it, PB Restorations. Pete,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pete's done some great stuff with resin printers.
He done actually a chassis.
He's done a complete car. It was something like a Dodge Charger.
I actually just finished the Corvette for his build next month.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Pete. He's a good friend of ours. Yeah.
He needs to grow the beard back.
Oh, don't tell him that.
Although I was flirting with Mr. TV one day when he was doing a live video, I was trying to talk to his wife, and he flirting with my wife.
The problem we've got is the time difference between the UK and Australia. It's, believe it or not, it's easier to talk to you than it is to talk to the likes of Michael from Gravesend, from Pete from PB Restorations.
Oh yeah,
even KC to a certain extent because he's in New Zealand.
I think I'm like 40.
Tasmania. Casey's
I
in
forget what the
Tasmania.
time difference is now, but it's huge.
Usually when we do our tavern on a Friday night, 9 o'clock is 6 o'clock in. Oh
That's
no,
fun.
because they put the time back. It's 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we've got I don't like to upset our Australian brothers because we love them to bits. But it's a hell of a job to get up at that time in the morning just to come and join us on a Friday night.
It is. Yeah. I talked to Brian over at Brian's Diecast in Thailand.
Brian Stothers. Yeah, we know Brian.
Yeah, it's 12 hours difference. It's 6 a.m. here. It's 6 p.m. there, so it's not a bad thing. He's just getting into the evening, and I just got out of bed.
It's ironic that the post charges are the most expensive between the UK and the US.
Yeah.
But the time difference works probably best between the UK and the US than the UK and Australia. It's a funny old world that we live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly.
So what's because we're both confessional Batman nuts. Have you? For some reason, my dog is wet through. I've got a dog down here that's just.
Friday.
Please don't start. She's clawing at my shirt now. Look at that.
I'm sleeping.
Thanks, Uncle Laz. What have you finished your? I'm going to be careful how I ask this because we were talking about this last night, and I said I thought you based your current Batman run on the animated series, but it may be that it was the 66 series.
The builds that I do in diecast, those are majority of those. There's only one or two that are based on something else. They're all based on the 66 series.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I stand corrected then, sir. I thought it was the animated series from the 80s, but so it's the 66. So I was saying to the boys last night, Ron doesn't just do the Batmobiles. He does every bloody car that was ever in the series of Batman, like, and I love it.
I'm doing one now. It's based on, I think it was the False Face episode where they had the armored car. And I picked up an armored car one day, and I was like, "Yeah, that'll work." So I was trying to figure out.
Have you seen the two the updated animated series with Burt Ward and?
Oh yeah, the one that came out after the series ended.
This is about 5 years ago.
Okay,
they did an updated animated version of the 66 series.
Yeah, I've only seen a little of it. I don't recall when the last time I saw it was. Somewhere. I was going to give you a sneak peek of my Batty Batmobile that I'm building for next month.
Batty Batmobile.
Yeah. The challenge for the Diecast International Builders was build a Batmobile. Just, pick a casting and build a Batmobile. And whether it's funny or whatever, I can't. I got so many cars on the wall, I can't see.
I feel an episode 2 of this coming up anyway.
PJ, sorry, mate, to interrupt. I'm going to have to shoot off, mate. My missus is ready from work, mate. Okay. I'll see you boys on Friday. Yeah. On the tavern. And Ron, nice to speak to you, mate. And I'll send you that email over.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
I'll hook you up with some files so you can come up. We can print do a little practice printing with them.
Brilliant, mate.
I can feel like we might be having a 3D printer.
Definitely.
Coming up.
Definitely.
So if Ron's happy to do that with us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Right, gentlemen. I'll see you all again.
Bye, Luke. Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Yeah, Luke.
Thanks for the question.
We have a question from JMO. Which departed channel do you miss the most, such as Danny's Diecast Disasters or Diecast Resurrection?
I think it's Danny, actually. Danny was so creative. They were both good channels, but I could always, and I think part of it was also his voice and his attitude about the whole thing. hello, welcome to this. My name's Danny, and these are my diecast disasters. Yeah, that was one. I was surprised he went away, and I thought, well, okay, maybe a little hiatus, but he never came back. But I think I miss him more than any of them.
I can say as well a couple of channels. Opa, I know his son is running the channel, but
yeah, Opa, he was a good friend of mine. The car I'm doing for our Opa tribute here in about a month was one I got from him the last time I visited with him about just a few months before he passed away. But yeah, Opa, he was my buddy. He would call me and talk to me a lot. And if I was passing that way on a work trip, I'd stop in and have lunch with him.
That's good. That's
and another one. I don't know if you know Roverland. I don't know if you're familiar with Roverland.
No, I don't think I've seen Roverland.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me have a look here quickly. But he's a guy. I've sent him some diecast Land Rovers. He only collects Land Rovers.
Okay.
Roverland. And I think he stopped making videos. I haven't seen a new video. I think it might be a year and a half actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Lee from Diecast Fixer Uppers had a lot of chat with Roverland.
Yeah. I think the last video he had was, let me just a bit slow. 1 year ago actually. That was his last video, so he's not putting out videos anymore.
What do you think is, Ron? What do you think is one of the sadly with Opa? It's obvious the reason why the channel stopped and his lad took over. But what do you think is the idea, the reason behind so many channels shutting down? Is it lack of ideas, lack of availability, whatever it may be?
Some of the, I think there are a few, and they pointed it out before in one of the last videos. They weren't really doing it for the love, just for the enjoyment. They were thinking they were going to get rich. They're going to make some money on this, and I don't mind making a little money on it because I know I'm never going to get rich doing it, really any of this. But I mean, I do make a little here and there. Maybe go sell a car. I seldom sell a car. I mean, someone asked me about my customs and why aren't they in my flea market booth, and I said because they're not. You want one? Just give me a call. We can talk. But I just sell main lines in my flea market booths, and that way, and a few occasional other things that I sell. But a lot, I think that's part of it. People had the wrong notion, and I know one or two in particular. I remember there are a few guys that got rubbed the wrong way by someone's comment or suggestion, and one or two of them I totally agreed with the comment that was made, and their attitude was they had a wrong attitude about what this hobby should be. We're a community. You guys build what you build, I build what I do, and we all share, on knowledge and whatever. I'm not trying to do better than anybody. I'm just playing with little cars.
Well, a lot of the challenges I went down a specific route of setting up challenges that were generic, so that anybody could take part in them. It wasn't a specific vehicle from a specific year and it's got to be this, that, or the other. It was, can you do a corgi? Can you do a matchbox? Martin came up with the cops and robbers theme, and so we were trying to keep it as open as we possibly could to be as inclusive as we could, I suppose.
I think that's the best part of it. It's just like, even if you notice, the Diecast International Builders, our group, we've always just said, here's a theme, pick something, build it. And Three Blind Mice, they were always build this car and figure out how to make it look like this. Four Horsemen were doing the same thing. This last year, they decided to go the same way we are. Let's just put a theme out there, because not everybody can go out and find that particular car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, so it opens up the realm of possibilities to more people.
Do you want to give a shout out, Ron, to the Diecast International Builders who's involved in it?
Yeah, we have Matchbox Mark. He is the one that invited me in originally, along with Opal.
Yeah, I know as well.
Then
I'll put his name.
Caleb is Opal's or Scott Coster's son, and he hated the thought of his dad's channel, everything going away, and so he decided to keep it going, and which I really appreciated. I've talked to Caleb a few times. I don't know him as well as I knew his dad. And then we also have Cole, with Kudos Diecast.
Kudos Diecast, yeah.
Yeah, he's a college student, very talented.
Yeah.
He did a really good job on that little ratty looking police.
He's got the fish as a
yeah. He calls as he says, "Welcome to the fish tank."
Welcome to the fish tank. Yeah. I'll reiterate. Please extend our invitation to your colleagues, your friends, if they want to come and do this with us. We're trying to fill up a calendar. We're trying to do this every 2 weeks. When we run out of YouTubers, we'll start talking about topics specifically, which I would love to invite you back to discuss. Martin's back to discuss 3D printing at some point. That'd be great. I appreciate that, especially if we can get on board and we're all talking off the same hymn sheet about the same kind of 3D printer. Yeah. Then we can start supplying our friends in the DMC with wheels, etc.
Oh, sure. And to me, that's the best part of it. I mean, like I said, I print a few and excuse me, occasionally sell a few of them. Mostly things like that I put in my booth. And we got a lot of local guys around here that are customizers. They enjoy having options. So, but yeah, we're figuring out angles and everything and speeds and things. I'm still learning. I still play with it every time every time I fire the thing up. It's like, okay, how can I improve over the last time I did this? You know,
this. I'm going to say thank you so much again. This has turned out to be the longest episode, and I thought it would be. Reason being,
I talk a lot.
No, sir, not at all. I couldn't wait for this episode, to be honest. You've been a long time supporter of the channel, even though you're not upfront in, with the tavern. But I've always appreciated your involvement with it and taking part in our challenges. So much so, sir, that I watched your video and I brought a bottle of your Novus.
Oh, the Novus 2.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And also, Ron, we had a question. We had the same question with PJ. When you gonna start making proper videos?
You start making proper videos.
I don't make proper videos. What are you talking about?
I'm only joking.
This isn't Disney, if that's what you're asking. You know what I mean?
I work incredibly fast.
Yeah. What the problem I've got with any kind of scratch remover is let me show you if I can. I've got two extremes. I've got the Dremel.
Right.
You can't get this anymore. It used to set fire in people's hands, so they stopped making it.
Oh wow!
But mine's
I've got the one from Lidl.
so far, touch wood, mine's been okay. But I've also got the tack light.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with the tack light.
Yeah. And one of the things that I picked up with, having watched your DMC video, was to use a low speed.
Right.
And the tack light is the closest I can get to used in a slow speed and in a circular motion, if you see what I'm getting at.
Right.
Do
you know about how slow it is?
I've only got a what? Bless you. Great question, but I've only got a 1, 2, or 3 scale.
Well, basically, this is what I have. I actually get it. I got this at Harbor Freight. It's their Braun. It's rotary tool. Sorry, brain fart. And when you turn it on, I don't know if you can hear that. That's the lowest speed.
Right.
It's probably turning maybe about 600 RPMs. 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And this one, I will use. I also have a battery one. I don't like to use the battery one because even on low, it's way too fast.
Yeah, I've got that with the I've got the full size Dremel that you can fit into a stand.
Yeah,
it's almost like a pillar drill,
yeah.
And that's like hell on earth. It does, yeah, yes, absolutely. It does exactly what a drill would do if you could get away with it. This is the baby version of the full size Dremel,
right.
And then this is the infant. No, sorry, this is the infant version. This is the baby version. So far, this is the closest I can get. And I think Mark from Laz, help me out. Mark from, it's not Mark from Matchbox. Was it Matchbox Garage?
Matchbox
Rob. Rob had Matchbox Garage.
Yeah, Rob was using these tap lives back in the day. Yeah, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. It's a little less powerful than the Dremel.
Yeah, and with the polishing, you want the lower speed and not a lot of pressure. You want to keep it moving and don't push down on it. Just kind of let that felt wheel move across it. I did one just the other day that had a little bit of scarring that I had to go in with some 2000 grit sandpaper and wet sand it so that it took a lot of the really big chunks that were, smoothed it out, and then went in and polished it. But yeah, light pressure, constant movement, and that makes all the difference. Because if you push too hard, it's just going to gouge it and burn.
You back there, Mark?
Yeah. The internet bit of playing up big time tonight.
I did say earlier on that you're away.
Yeah, it's been in a tin box. It tends to go up and down like a yo-yo. Yeah, it said that I'm backstage and I'm going backstage.
But I think this has helped us. We started doing this so we could interview or ask our friends and collaborators like yourself, Ron, to come on and define what they do on their channel. But this has also helped us, I think, start to put together a list of when you run out of YouTubers to ask about stuff.
Yeah,
let's start talking about some specific categories, whether it be, painting, whether it be stripping models down, whether it be whatever it might be. And I think this you've just pointed out quite a lot of stuff, Ron, that we can pick up on and move forward with. 3D printing being one of them is another one.
Well, it's always interesting to actually get to know what other people's thought processes, and get to know the person behind the camera.
Oh yeah,
that's always a good thing. It's interesting because then you can relate to, you know, when you're watching videos and you can relate to that person because you've actually sort of physically spoke to them and seen them and what have you. So it all adds to the community.
Yeah.
We're going back on a question a bit earlier on about communities and you get a lot of discord. I think the bigger the community you find, the more unsettling times you can get. I find that mostly on the Facebook side of things, really, on the Facebook pages. I mean,
everybody tends to wear their emotions real close to the surface.
Yeah, yeah. There's certain hobbies or certain things can be very touchy, and I found scale modelling to be at times. I was a member of a scale modelling group a number of years ago now, and I found very picky, very, very picky. And I'm thinking, you know, we're not all professionals. Yeah, we're all doing this for fun. It's the whole idea of a hobby is it's to enjoy it and to have fun.
Exactly. It's not fun. Why do it?
I don't ever ridicule anybody's work.
I don't either.
Because at the end of the day, it's like when you get behind a learner driver, everybody's got to learn, you know. And everybody's got to do things, and nobody is a professional. Yet sometimes people think they are, but nobody's a professional. And in the scale modelling community, not all of it. And I'm saying, I'm going back a lot of years now. The guys that I follow now on subscribe to on YouTube now at this moment in time, they're all a great bunch of guys. Really, really get on really well with them, and they're great guys. But I'm going back quite a few years now, and I found we're quite picky, and you don't need that. It doesn't make you feel comfortable, and you feel as if you're doing everything wrong, and then you're trying to improve on something. You're trying to do something you can't do. Is out your comfort zone at that time. You know, you'll do it later as you progress through the hobby, but you can't be straight into weathering, or you can't be straight into, you know, doing all the photo edits and stuff like this. It's something you need to learn. It's a growing thing. I'm
going to pay you a compliment, Mr. Dare. Well, I'm not going to pay you a compliment. Jessica's going to pay you a compliment by saying Martin has a great way of polishing windscreens. Poundstone nail buffer.
Yeah. I tell you though, Jerry, that believe you me, if you're not careful, you can be overzealous with the sanding sticks. Not by roughness. The rougher the better. You can get that plastic off, but you've got to stop every once in a while. Stop rubbing, because believe me, that plastic generates heat very quickly, and it's like anything else. You know, I mean, when I generally learn, like Ron and everybody else learns, you learn the hard way. You learn by the mistakes. I'm sitting there rubbing away. Yeah, this is great. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, what's going on?
Crack.
The plastic is heated up, and what's happening is the pieces that I've sanded off are becoming stuck to the plastic because it's so hot. And I was thinking, I've totally screwed this up, you know. Or I remember doing a coach window, and I was scraping and scraping and scraping. I think this is coming clean. A few more scrapes and it'd be great. Bang, straight through it. Because you just push it that little bit further. Just push it that little.
Are you all right for time, Ron? I don't want to push you any further.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because we need an episode 2 of SoMo Diecast. It's just gonna have to happen. It's we, like I say, we could spend the night just talking about 3D printing or polishing. Even, you know, me and Laz were talking about polishing not long ago, weren't we, mate? About using 3000 grit wet and dry and that kind of thing. So,
well, I use
one process. You may be using another. Laz might be using another. It's kind of together in like a Wikipedia type scenario, you know.
I actually polished my car when I finished with them. When I finished the video, I give them a quick run over, but I go back a week later and take the car out the cabinet, dust it down, and then I put car polish wax on it, car wax. Yeah, the solid, the hard wax.
Yeah.
And I rub that in with my finger on the cloth all the way around, and then buff it up, and that gives you that extra protection to get, because dust will is a killer.
You give that paint a little more time to cure too. So
I tell you, yeah, it does, Ron. It does, because if you mess around too much, like we've done in the past, you think this is great, and you just do that one little thing, that deadly one little thing, and it either ends up on the floor, or you scratched it, or you just, and you say to yourself, why did you do it? You knew. Why did you do it? You cursed yourself because you think, you stupid fool, you knew not to do that.
More, and then too late.
Do you feel under pressure, Ron, to get videos out on you? If we move on to the YouTube side of things, for a sec, do you feel under pressure to get videos out on a week to week basis?
Well, yeah, it's a goal that I set for myself. That's why I do a weekly video. And then every 2 weeks I do a restoration video, because I have more to customize than I do to restore. So that's my personal goal. And anything I do extra, I tend to do on a Wednesday. Like if I'm building a scale model or releasing the recap videos, they'll always come out somewhere in the week. That way I space it out a little bit. I do feel pressure to get them out. But it's all on me. I mean, I don't know that if I missed, anybody would send me a message, "Are you okay?"
Well, it's funny to say that. It has happened over here before now. We've got, if we've not heard from somebody for a while, it starts to get a little bit twitchy, because at the end of the day, we've started to make friends that we never thought we'd have. And it's not just not in the UK. With the likes of yourself, I've often said I'd love to touch base with Ron. I don't want to pester him, but just check he's okay. I know you'd had problems with your was it your wrist or your arm or your hand a while ago?
I had to have carpal tunnel surgery, which is better, but I think the arthritis is kind of kicked in over the top of it.
Yeah. It's surprising that we've all changed over a 4 or 5 year period, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, old age club kicking in. Don't want to be in that club anymore. Yeah.
Well, like I say, we're all wearing glasses. With this, we're all losing there.
Only for reading.
Only for reading.
Look in the.
There you go. I was gonna say he has contacts in.
Yeah.
No, I had the surgery in 2018.
Yeah.
I am going to have to wrap this up. I haven't really paid any attention to the time, but anyway.
This has been from our point of view, personally, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been great.
Do this again in the near future.
I appreciate you reaching out to me and having this opportunity to talk about everything, answer questions. If you got any other questions, just send me an email, and I'll do what I can to answer that. And we'll maybe set up another time, like you said, PJ. We'll set up another time and talk about 3D printing and other things.
We've got so much to cover. This is all good. This is all good for us going forward. So. From my point of view, my thanks to Laz, as always, to Martin, as always,
and Martin.
Ron, it's been a privilege. It's been an honour. Thank you for agreeing to do this with us. We'll really nice.
Well, pass on my appreciation to everybody else that was here that left already, and we'll talk again.
We'll do so.
Well,
thanks for joining us. It's to Jessica, to Mick, to Paul, everybody.
Play apps as well.
Yeah.
Play apps. Oh, yeah.
We tend to find that once we've done these videos that as a couple of weeks go by, more people watch them. We're up to 70 or 80 people watching these videos now. It's all good stuff. So this is PJ signing off till 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll have Michael on board from. I'm gonna attempt it. Gravesend, Australia, Diecast.
Salvage.
Salvage. Oh, so close, so close.
Yeah.
So we'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
Later, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Good evening.
Cheers,
Good
Ron.
afternoon.
Thanks, mate.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too, guys.